What's going on, fam? Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. We will be continuing the conversation surrounding toxicity in relationships. What we're going to be dealing with today is a clip from Iyanla Fix My Life. She sat down with a group of 7 family members that have had some issues in the past regarding their relationships. And some of the expectations that they have in their various relationships are from their own vantage point. Some of the basis to the relationships could be unrealistic. Some of them are realistic. There's been hurt, there's been pain, there's been betrayal, just like in all of our families. There are potentially unresolved issues. There are things that have been left unsaid, and there are certain people that we click with, that we cling to, and there's nothing wrong with that. We can have a circle of people, but out of that circle or your close group, there could very well be 1 or 2 people that you just there could very well be people that you just mesh well with, that they see you, they understand you. And this goes along in chapter 4 of the book, my book, Paradigm, Thinking Different About Relationships. In chapter 4, I talk about unrealistic expectations, and also the idea of how do we rank our relationships. What is it that we are seeking out of relationships to determine in our own perspective if they are viable or if they are toxic? And I use the example in the book of something that I think that we all can relate to, of the Likert scale or the ranking system when we're on our jobs. And when you get your semi or your annual evaluations, there are pretty much a Likert scale of 5 categories or buckets that we would typically fall in. 1, not meeting expectations. 2, below expectations. 3, meeting expectations. 4, above expectations. And 5, exceeding expectations. And we could very well agree or disagree with what our supervisor says pertaining to us, and there are different key performance indicators that would suggest where we fall on that scale. And let's be honest, these evaluations typically determine if someone will remain employed with this company. And it's not any different when we sit back and we evaluate our relationships with other people. Where do they fall on our scale? If this is a viable relationship or not, that it should be continued. Is it a toxic work environment? Or is it something that we just need to amicably agree upon to just part ways, as this is not adding value to either person, to either party that is involved in the relationship? And so we're going to jump into this clip. It's about an 8-minute clip, and we're going to provide some commentary along the way, just to see how this family, which I commend them that they're able to come to the table and rate each other on their connectivity amongst themselves, as who sees them, who they can talk to, who they cannot talk to, who they can be real, transparent, all these sorts of things, who they can find support in. And so I just believe that this is a very powerful thing that has happened here amongst this family. So we are just going to go ahead and get into it.
One of the things that I work with Mr. Melvin and Mr. Marvin on today was unfinished business. Because that unfinished business bubbles to the top and will make us do and say things that then we feel sorry about later. So over the past couple of days, y'all have been rating your relationships with each other, have you not?
Yes.
Let us take a look at those, why don't we? And I really want you to notice if they've gone up or down. If you have any relationship in your life that's not an 8 or better, either the relationship, you need to let the relationship go, or you have unfinished business. 8 or better.
Now, let's stop here for a second. She says 8 or better. That's a very high mark. When we're talking about if you would let a relationship go. Now, I'm pretty sure there's method to the madness there, but I would lean towards the latter of that there's unfinished business. There is something that needs to be addressed. But I don't know if I will go as far as an 8, because every relationship has its work to be done on both sides, both parties that are involved. Me personally, I would rather go somewhere in between the area of 6 or 7 that we really, I'm probably a 5 or 6 that we really need to get to the nitty gritty to figure out what is going on. Because if we're at a 5 or 6, it means 50% hit or miss every other day. I don't know if this person is coming and going, or if they don't know if I'm coming or going. We don't know what we're going to get on a daily basis. There's a lack of consistency, or to figure out, what is our disconnect? What are we missing here? So that's just me personally. But again, hey, she's the expert. So I'm pretty sure there is a rhyme and reason and a methodology as to why she says that on a Likert scale of 1 to 10, that there needs to be an 8 or above before you call someone to the carpet to figure out what's going on in the relationship.
Does anybody in here have a relationship with somebody that's over an 8? Good. And who's your relationship with over an 8?
Marcus.
Can you hear the truth from him?
He the only one I can hear.
Why?
Because I depend on him for a lot of stuff mentally. Like, I have breakdowns, I have weak moments, and I know he understands me. I can call on him.
So why didn't you call him before you slashed your wrists?
I didn't want to be helped.
And how did that make you feel that you've always been there for your brother and he didn't call you? How did that make you feel?
And I felt irritated, and I was a little sad, because I'm like, if it would have worked, then I would have just had to accept that, and you would have been gone. I would never talk to you again. It would have been like that. And then it was crazy, because days before that, I was actually just going through, like, I don't know, I think I was feeling depressed or something, and I was gonna call you, but I didn't want to put my depression on you. Then so I really felt bad, because I was like, damn, if I would have just called him 2 days ago, he wouldn't have done it, because he would have realized that I'm in the same state you in right now, like, as far as the mind state.
But see, then you don't tell him the truth. Respect him enough to know he can handle it.
I just want to comment on that point right there. Being able to call somebody and let them know that you're having a difficult time. This goes back to our second episode of toxicity, of getting toxic people out of your life. We got to understand the people that we can tell good things and bad things to. Now, don't get me wrong, every friend or relationship that we have, no, we cannot have that same level of intensity and vulnerability and openness with every person. So we got to really understand and know who we're talking to and who we're dealing with. But if this is a person that we say is, for all intensive purposes, from the Likert scale of what Ayana is saying here, an 8 and above, if we are not able to express how we are truly feeling, with this person that we say that we have total and complete trust in, that there's an issue there, and we do have to unpack that to try to figure out what is the disconnect to where I feel as if I am not able to be 100 or transparent with you. And again, on the same side, on the opposite side of the coin, we got to really understand what other people are as well. If they are fragile, will it help? Would it add anything to the conversation? Would it add value for me to express how I am feeling at that moment? Could it be that iron sharpens iron at that moment? Could it be that I need to take a step back from what I'm feeling to try to provide support to the other person at that moment? There's different variables here, and it's just not a cookie cutter type deal. But I do agree that we do need to be able to have that person that we can go to and be vulnerable and be able to express how we're feeling on a real level, in that safe place and safe space, as we talk about in chapter 2 of the book, having that safe place and safe space where you're able to share your deepest, darkest thoughts, feelings, emotions, hurts, and vulnerabilities. So again, that point right there, when she states, well, give him enough respect to know that he could handle it. Well, maybe he could not have handled it at that point in time. So again, we got to be very careful with that, and we got to be able to read the room to understand where other people are in the process of their healing, in the process of their hurt, and giving them the opportunity as well to heal, to be able to be an assistant, to walk somebody, to hold someone's hand, to hold them up, encourage them, to extol them during their hardship. So that's a very delicate conversation that has to be had on both sides to be able to understand it at any given moment who is able to lean on the other person.
Right?
Yes.
Who's your 8 or better?
Michael, Marcus, Mikhail, and Marvin. With Marvin, it's almost like you approve of me, and you're not condemning me.
That's a strong point right there. Remember we said it in episode 2, we don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. So when we're talking about judging somebody from the point of condemning them, well, that you're no good, you're bound and duty bound for hell or whatnot, so we don't have that authority of God to say who's going to heaven or who's going to hell. However, we do have the authority and right, especially if we're believers, brothers and sisters in Christ, that we are able to call out somebody's actions, their performance, things that they're doing. But we do it from a place of love. We do it from a place of compassion and understanding, whether that love may be tough or sensitive. But in this moment is clear, based off of the relationship that she has with this young man, that he sees her as a human being and just does not come down on her as you're good for nothing, which is a beautiful thing.
Michael, you come to me with being truthful. You get in your moods and sometimes you don't, then you just want to talk and spill your guts, and it's always, Mama, don't take it personal, still love you, but I say this, that, and I can respect that.
Mr. Michael, do you remember when you came here before you wept and cried because you thought your mother didn't like you?
Yes.
Did you hear what she said about you?
Yes.
Yeah, so you were mistaken.
Our perception, y'all, can be reality. It can be our reality, not the true reality, but what we perceive to be our reality or perceive to be our truth. So this whole notion that's going around in culture right now of walk in your truth and be real with yourself. Okay, we got to be very careful with things like that or statements like that because it sounds good at face value, but if we really dig deeper and unpack that thing, your perception of reality could very well not be the truth. You're deceiving yourself and you're creating this false reality. And when you create this false reality, this false world, now you are orchestrating yourself as how do you move and maneuver and navigate in this false world when that is not really the case. And so when we figure out the actual truth, we're lost in the sauce because we don't know what way is up and what way is down. So we really got to be careful with that and be vulnerable enough and give the other person the respect enough to really ask the hard questions to figure out what really is the truth, so we know how to show up, we know how we're presenting ourselves, thus we know how to engage.
Yeah. Anybody else got an 8? Yes. Who's your 8? Michael and Mom. Okay.
And Mel
And Mel.
made the cut.
You got an 8. Yeah. Let's celebrate that. Yeah. Why is Michael your 8?
Because I finally started understanding Mike, and it took for me to be lonely and be by myself to understand how he felt. He's more than them videos. As far as Melvin, this is my baby brother. I can't not love him as much as I can, but I don't know, I don't understand as much of him as I should. But that genuine, he's genuinely gonna tell you exactly how he feel, and you can believe what he's saying. He say he don't like you today, he don't like you today. This is real life stuff. Yeah, he's spoiled, but this is our, it's my little brother.
Who else has an 8? Yeah. Who's your 8, Michael?
Oh, I got Marcus and I got Mikael.
Mikael?
Now, before we move further, I wanted to touch on that one a little bit, where when she was referring to the gentleman on the end in the white shirt. You're gonna know how he feels. If he is feeling some kind of way today, it's gonna be known. Now, those kind of people, that's great that you're being truthful and honest, but let's take a step back too. As we talked about a lot in season 1, are people genuinely in relationship with us because we're adding value to one another, or are they tolerating us? And that goes back to that 50% we were talking about earlier of rating people or rating our relationships. You don't know what you're going to get on a daily basis with someone. You don't know if they're going to be loving and compassionate, or if you don't know if they're going to come out of a bag on you. So you don't know what you're going to get on a daily basis. Is that really sustainable? And when we're talking about speaking our truth, is it, well, again, we talked about it earlier, well, this is just how that person is. Okay, fine. That just might be how they are, but that does not mean that I have to tolerate that. So again, I don't want to blanket everything in a cookie cutter approach in this analysis that we're doing here of this relationship evaluation amongst this family. Again, this is a family. This is anecdotal. This is strictly pertaining to them. But we're just gleaning bits and pieces from this interaction and from this rating of this family to see what we can glean and be able to add to our lives?
It's the one I can go to when I need him. He talks to me. I go over and kick it with him. He's like my, kind of like a best friend I never had. We can relate. We talk about certain things and we just do what we gotta do. But he's cool people to hang out with, you know what I'm saying? So, me and him, we ain't never crashed, so we always had good conversation, good times, listen to music, eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We just kick it.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
And Marcus, he's fun to be around, man. And he's in real life, he's really laid back. He ain't like this monster everybody think he, but he's cool people though, man. He got a nice, calm heart. And when I need him, he be there. Yeah.
Mr. Melvin, who's your 8 or better?
No one.
No one.
No.
Wow. Well, that may not be healthy.
I'm at a place with my personal growth. I still have work to do to where I can even work on us. So I just need time to work on me and not letting the past, with my head. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. You got past, huh?
sorry.
We'll take it.
I
Take it
did,
real. I'd rather
like,
you be authentic than
mess
not
up,
than to hold on.
That's a two-parter right there. Glad that he's being real, that he acknowledges that there is work that he has to do on himself from an internal perspective, and being able to let go of things of the past. So again, for the context of this conversation, of this clip, him not feeling safe enough or in a mental space to be able to say that anyone in that room is at an 8 with him as far as a steady, healthy, consistent relationship. Again, we don't know the whole context of everything that's going on in their life, but that's very telling. Out of 6 other people in the room, his family, that there is no one that he feels he has a healthy and successful relationship with. So again, we got to really think about, when we're engaging in relationships, what are the expectations here? What is on his list that will dictate or solidify to him that this is a healthy relationship? What must they do in his eyes that will get them back to a point to where he would believe that I feel safe enough in a space to be able to say that we have a productive, healthy, and valuable relationship? So that's really deep.
On to it. Let's celebrate that. Hey, go there when you gotta go there. Miss Kizzy, who's your 8?
Marvin.
Why is Marvin your 8?
He works my nerve. He's Queen Messy, but he's my go-to. I feel safe with Marvin.
Safe place, safe space.
I know that I can call and I can talk to him. He gets me together. If I'm not being honest, he pulls the truth out of me.
Excellent.
Let's celebrate that truth in there.
Let's celebrate.
Pulling the truth out of somebody. And that's going back to what we were talking about in episode 1 of how in the world do you engage with someone to where you're just not telling them what they want to hear. You're being a true friend. You're being a true confidant to push someone into greatness, to pull out of them what really needs to be pulled out in a loving way. So that was very, very good to hear that he is able to pull the truth out of her to where she is not dwelling in a delusion or a jaded perception of what reality is.
Marvin, who's your 8?
Well, I put down Mikhail, but I gave him a 10.
Oh, okay. Why did you?
Because I feel like Mikhail is, like we talk almost every day now. And he's always calm. I think we are so much alike. He's just like easy to deal with,
Yeah.
And then we always talk, and then I can't talk to him about certain stuff because he don't want to get messy. But but yeah, Mikhail's just a laid back, cool dude, and he reminds me so much of myself. So we ain't never really clashed. So that's my number 10.
Can I tell you something? Y'all can clash and still be an 8, 9, and a 10.
Yeah.
Yes, very good, very good. There's nothing wrong with confrontation. It's about how you choose to go about the confrontation, or a disagreement, or a misunderstanding, or a miscommunication. There's nothing wrong with those things. We grow in adversity. We grow in moments of disagreement. We grow in times where we do not see eye to eye. But that is the telltale sign of a healthy relationship. If we've done the work in a safe space, in a place that people feel as if they are able to be vulnerable, honest, and open, if we're taking care of the little things, then when big things happen, we can take care of those. We can handle those situations because we have done the work. We've done the preliminary work, that our foundation is strong enough to be able to handle these things over time. So she's absolutely right in that regard, that family members, acquaintances, friends, whatever it is okay to have a difference of opinion.
You're different people. You're not always going to get along and agree.
We're different people trying to
You're not. You can clash.
think alike
It's
at
okay.
times.
And just because you're a clash doesn't mean you have to stop loving each other. We clashed yesterday, right?
Right.
Came right back, and here we go. Don't be afraid. This is not the group home. It's not the foster home. Nobody's going to put you out or keep your dinner from you. Y'all got to get out of the past. Stop looking through that filter.
I mean, it's phenomenal. I'm really glad that, she made that statement at the end of, we have got to get out of the past. We can't dwell in the past. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And if we have the thought process in our brain that we are perfect, we are totally jacked up, and we need to do something about that. So I would really encourage us, if we are able to have this type of dialogue with our own families. I know a lot of families, even within certain relationships that I have, are we at the place to be able to have those open and honest conversations like that? Probably not. But again, as Yana said in the beginning, having that Likert scale of understanding where you are on a relationship basis, on that 1 to 10, again, I would say if you are in that area of the 5 to 6 area, a serious conversation needs to be had about where we stand. Is this relationship viable? Are we adding value to the situation, to the relationship? And then again, at the root of all this, we really need to understand how we show up in relationships, how we're engaging, what are we contributing to the relationship. And so once we do that work and we understand our biases, our perceptions, our potential false realities, and things that we just throw in there arbitrarily, we can then understand how we show up in relationships and how other people perceive us. And once we understand that, then we're able to engage better in these relationships. So family, that's the show for today. I hope that this was a blessing to you and an eye-opener in some shape, form, or fashion. So please make sure that you are doing your work, that you're unpacking your backpacks to understand yourself better, not necessarily focusing on the other person, but understanding how you are showing up in relationships so that you can better impact your household, your family, your community, society, the nation, the world. And until next time, continue to think differently about relationships.